What's going on, people? Hope you are well. We are back. And it's been an international break that I can't lie, I don't enjoy. So I thought we'd do something different tonight and we talk things football and we'll talk about a debate. And I try and do these during the international breaks in relation to topics because I know people always have debate shows. And it's always good to have a bit of a chat with people and have a bit of an understanding of where people's perceptions are. And I thought tonight we talk about world class. The definition, the perception of world class is very, very different in everybody's eyes. And I've seen a lot of channels and a lot of panel debates, shows that I've seen about this topic. And I just wanted to do one ourselves and get some people on. Lawless will probably be joining us. Maz might be joining us. They're both a little bit late from work. But of course, I brought some people on. I brought Goonie. He is back in the house. What are you saying, Goonie? You good, bruv?
Yeah, man, it's good to be back on the channel. It's been a minute. But yeah, it's always good to be here. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, likewise, man. Dan United, what are you telling me? Are you good, mate?
I'm better that we're not talking about United for once, mate. Every show normally we're 20 minutes talking about how crap United are, so it's nice to do a show where we're talking about world-class players. So we shouldn't have to mention United at all tonight, to be fair, which is a bonus for me.
Well, it's mad because I was going to bring in a couple other people, but they've had to jump off. Pete, get well soon, my friend. I hope you're well. He's not well at all at the moment, but I hope you get well soon. As I say, Maz and Lawless will be here very soon. Errol, unfortunately, tonight is not about, and LB's over on the football terrace, so he wasn't about tonight. But the panel will be back next week, so don't worry about that. Let's get into it, man. I want to talk about the term world class, first of all, before we start throwing players around, because I believe there's different understandings, there's different definitions, and there's different perceptions from people about what world class is. I don't think there's anybody that can tell me a definition of what world class is and the next person then agree that that's the case. And this was basically proven evidentially on a night out with a few of the lads. And we were discussing world class. What is world class? Somebody said to me, do you think Harry Kane is world class? I said, oh, explain to me what world class is. And they said, well, it's obviously the best in the world. Then somebody said, no, it's not. It's if you're into a 1 to 11. Then somebody went, no, it's not. It's if you're in the top best 3 in your positions. No, it's more than that. There's more than 3 best world-class strikers. It must be top 5. And now you'd enter any other team. You'd make any other team better. And I thought, well, straight away, none of you know what world-class is. So I thought, let's do a show on it and let's debate it. So I'm going to throw that question out there first to see what your perception of world-class is, because I've always put, right, and I'll start with you, Goonie, I've put world-class up here, man. I haven't put world-class down here. Like, yeah, they're not too bad. They'll probably be top class. They get into a lot of sides. I'm talking world-class as in this guy is going straight into my team and he's going to be one of the best players on the pitch in that team. But it seems now there's a lot of people that disagree with that and think, nah, you could have 4 or 5 players in that position that could be classed as world-class. So where are you at with this, bro?
For me, again, like I agree with you in a sense of there's not an agreed definition of the term world class, and it's a bit of a shame, really. And I also think as well it also comes down to, and I know some people can't help their age, but age does matter in this, and the length of the time of you've been watching football, because you have specimens to sample from the longer that you've been watching football. So I say that to say this, for me, world class is where you are, without a shadow of a doubt, the best of your generation, and you can be spoken with amongst some of the best to ever do it. That's my definition. Now, here's the thing. There's a caveat to that, because there might be a player who has 1 season where they show world-class form, possibly even 2 where they show world-class form, but there can be drop-off straight after that. So there has to be a tangible sample size for you to convince me that you are world-class. That's how it was back in the day, Dan. Yeah, you wasn't coming out and calling David Beckham world-class because he came in and he scored from the halfway line and he had a good season. You wasn't calling certain players like even Riquelme, for example. He's coming in and he's boss and he has a boss 1 season. No, nobody was calling these players world class. Even Paul Scholes, for as good as he wasn't world class for a long time, because you needed a period, a healthy extended period, to prove that you are able to consistently either perform at that level at bare minimum or improve from there. So for me, like, to be calling players that are 2021 world class, right, they might show it. They might even show elite potential. But for you to be able to judge and absolutely label them as world class, you've got to wait for them to at least play several seasons or so at that consistent level.
Yeah, see, and you make good points there, Goonie, because it's a bit similar to the word legend. A legend to me was years ago, like, yeah, hands down. Now everyone's a legend. Do you know what I mean? You can go down, I don't know, the pub and come back with pints and bring a packet of crisps and you'll be called a legend. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's thrown around so much, bro. It's like, oh, this is a legend. This guy is a legend. And I think world class is getting a little bit like that. I think everybody's world class. You see, like, someone's mentioned Basuma, like Nuno. Like, to me, Basuma is not world class.
No.
But I'm hearing that he is, because Spurs fans are absolutely loving what he's doing so far in 13 games. To me, Basuma is not world class, but he's being called world class at the moment because he would get into the top 5 teams in Europe right now, apparently. So that means you're world class. There's so many different definitions and perceptions. So, Dan, let me throw it to you, bro. What you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Actually, Goonies completely just warped my mind with that statement, because I do agree longevity has to come into it. I mean, I go back to obviously what Goonie was saying about players can have a season where they look like they're in world-class form, but Rashford's the biggest example of that. Last season, everyone thought this guy is a world beater, unstoppable, but it has to be consistency. And so when you look at players like Harry Kane, I do think you have to put Harry Kane somewhere near that bracket. I think the guy has done it season in, season out. He's done it in teams where he shouldn't be scoring the goals he's scoring. I mean, look at him last season with Spurs, manages to bag 30 goals in the Premier League season where even Spurs fans will agree it was horrendous. I've always grown up on the potential of being top 3 in that position in the world. That was what I grew up, when I was scribbling on the back of test papers with my mates, who's world class. That is what we normally stuck it with. But at the same time, I think you have to look at what Goonie said about the whole consistency and how you look at it over a term of time. When you were talking about Paul Scholes there, my eyebrows raised, but then obviously as you finished it with, it is over an extended part of time. But the thing is, I think what's changed now is the stats in football are ridiculous. There are players that have ridiculous stats without actually doing anything in the game, and I think you have to look at those players that fall below there. Like Benzema. Benzema obviously has won a lot in the game. Would you call him world class? What he's achieved in his career. Gareth Bale has won a lot in his time in his career. But would you class him as world class? It is a really, really tough question to say what world class is nowadays. Back as I said, for me it was the top 3, but I don't even think you can do that anymore. I think a lot more comes into it.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to talk in a bit about the current crop of players that we have in this Premier League, because I want to know how many world class players there are. Right? We're going to discuss that in a minute. Hopefully, Lourdes and Maz will be on soon as well to join us for it. But I'm going to throw some names of some other players that are no longer playing, and I want you to discuss whether you believe they were world class. Alan Shearer. Was Alan Shearer world class?
Had the scoring record for the argument. 100% he had the scoring record for the argument. But then when I look at his all-round game, because you see, when you mention Alan Shearer, you've now got to mention the peers that were around him. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, I'm going to say this. Although we scored 265 goals in the Premier League, would I take Shearer or would I take R9? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is the question now. Or even, for example, would I take Shearer or would I take Batistuta? These are the questions that you got to ask yourself. So for me, with Alan Shearer, what he done in terms of his goal scoring record, it's an amazing and it's an elite record. But in terms of him as an actual world-class player, can I put him amongst those types of names? And me personally, I can't. But that's no disrespect to Alan Shearer. He's still a very top level striker. But to put him amongst those names for me would be a difficult thing to do.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree. It is a tough one with Shearer because, as you say, the goals he scored, and the other thing to remember about the goals he scored, he's had the goal scoring record for that long, and he retired from club football at a relatively youngish age for footballers now. Was it 34? I think he retired. So would he have gone on and scored a lot more? But I think as a player as a whole, I don't think you. People are going to disagree, but I don't think you could put him as world class. And the exact point is what Goonie said about R9. They were in the same sort of era. You wouldn't compare, would you? You couldn't compare.
And that's where I'm at, right? Because someone's put it in the chat as well. CBE said he was world class. Ronaldo and them, man, were an upper, different planet. So that's my next question. Is there that? Is the world class the one below where you go boom? Because I'm not sure. That's where I'm still not sure. Is world class like Messi, Ronaldo, or is that no? That's like best ever. Just see what I'm saying. So that's what I don't get. Is there a best ever, and we put R9s, Zidane's, Messi's, Maradona's, Pele's, Ronaldo's? Do we put them in there, and then people are world class like the Thierry Henrys of this world and people like that? They're the world class talents, or are they all in a league of their own? That's why I don't get Goonie.
Well, this is the thing, is the term they use for those type of players is elite. Now we got to ask ourselves this question, because we come from that 90s era, right?
Yeah.
Was that term ever thrown around in the 90s, or was it world class?
Exactly.
Exactly. So for me, like, as you lot know, R9 is my all-time best player ever. That's my favorite player of all time. And back in the day, I never ever heard anyone say this guy was elite. I just heard there is an absolute world-class striker. So again, it depends on the era that you come from. Like this new era, they'll say, well, he was elite. Then you've got other players that were, world-class and the category that's below elite. But for me, world-class is world-class. Like I'm not going to differentiate between world-class and elite. Now, if we're talking legends of the game, that's something that has to be established after your playing career is over. That's when you can actually look back over a span of an entire career and you can say, all right, cool. This is what this guy did. This is a season after season, consistently, not a single drop off. This man is a legend and is also world class.
Yeah, interesting for me, because I do believe that there is brackets in football. You can talk about the elites, you can talk about the legends, as people are saying in the chat, and then there's a bracket down, and then there's a bracket down from that. And it's about where you put these players. And then that's why this word world class, or these two words, should I say, comes in, and you talk about being world class. And I think for me, R9, Zidane, Ronaldinho, Thierry Henry, you can talk about them. Where do they lead? Are they Messi, Ronaldo level? Are they below that? It's very, very difficult, Dan.
It is. And then, like we just spoke about Shearer, and you list off all those players, and the thing that I think separates them is the things that they've won in their careers. Obviously, Shearer won a Premier League.
Yeah.
Was it a Premier League? And I think, did he win the FA Cup? I don't think he won the FA Cup, did he?
Won the Premier League.
So then you go to yeah, Pete's going mad, mate. But the thing is, you look at the likes of R9, Thierry Henry, all these players that they've got all these accolades, of what they've won in their career. So I do think that also has a bearing. I do think it has a bearing.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Let me throw another couple of players at you, Premier League legend wise, right? Or old school Premier Leagues. The first one, Eric Cantona, Dan.
I mean, that
was he United? Was he world class?
That man's God, isn't he? But I mean, he's God. He's just what a player! But
you can see why you can see why I've gone to Shearer and Cantona.
Yeah,
they were like two Premier League legends. Were they world class? Some are saying in the chat. Some are saying no to Shearer. Eric Cantona, is he world class?
No, he wasn't. He was class. He was absolute class, but world class. No, he wasn't world class. He could do things that I still to this day don't know how he did. At that time in the Premier League era, but again, I don't think at that time he was in world football. At that time, you'd have picked him, but I don't think he would have been in a world 11 starting. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he'd be there, but as a player, magic. But again, with his stats, Cantona wasn't an elite goal scorer for Manchester United. He didn't score 30, 40 goals a season, but what he did was he brought in play around him. He was a different kind of striker. And you know something, what James Boris has said, he is a Manchester United legend. I completely agree. But to say world class, I'm not sure you can put him as world class now.
Goonie, you agree? Cantona?
That guy was just class. I'm not going to lie, he was. But then, again, I look around and players at that time in that similar position. Off the top of my head, could you say Rivaldo was a similar comparison to in terms of where they occupy space, or was it slightly different?
Maybe
a bit accurate here.
Rivaldo
was a bit more forward. Rivaldo, Oh, Rivaldo, you've just mentioned. I loved watching him, man. He was unreal, Rivaldo.
But okay, but this is what I'm saying, and it's down to Dan's point. At that time, could you put him in a world 11 and without a shadow of a doubt and say he belongs there?
And would you put him? So we've just said no to Shearer, who was in around the same time, scored a hell of a lot more goals. But I suppose the difference is between Shearer and Cantona is Cantona was winning trophy after trophy after trophy with Manchester United. This is where the issue comes with how you define world class and just class. It's the toughest conversation.
It's so hard, man. Because my next two players are probably two of the best I've seen technically. Dennis Bergkamp and Matthew Le Tissier. Matthew Le Tissier was so underrated, you know. He was so good.
That guy
technically
was an animal. Oh my goodness. And the thing is, yeah, with Matt Le Tissier, there's two things that he did that just blow my mind to this day. Number one, he did things at will. Number two, he made it look so easy and effortless. Just with everything that he did, even down to his celebration, he would score the absolute most wildest goal, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I did."
And
that.
Gooney, he'd normally do it against Newcastle as well. Most of his world class goals were against.
Yeah, I remember that one. And he never missed a penalty. Am I right, Matt Le Tissier? I'm sure he never missed a penalty. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think in the Premier, definitely.
Yeah, incredible, man. Absolutely incredible player. And for me, Dennis Bergkamp was world class, but I just
he was.
That guy was just incredible for me, man. Incredible. Big up, Lawless. How are you, my friend? What are you saying? Oh, you're on mute, I think.
He's been silenced.
We've been waiting a year and a half for this.
Here we go. Yeah, all good. Hope everyone's all good. Everyone in the chat's all good.
Yeah, man, we're all good, bro. I'm loving the tash, bro.
The what?
The tash.
Oh, is it? Do you know what? I haven't got around to trimming it.
Yes, you're doing November.
No, do you know what? I was trimming like the bottom part of the facial hair because it was getting a bit scraggly, but I haven't trimmed the top part, so I guess it looks like I'm a fucking moustache and not my usual beard. So thanks for pointing that out. Now I've got to go and get my trimmers out.
Nah, it's cool, man. It's cool. Listen, we're talking about world class, Lawless, and we've talked about what it means, and also we've brought some old players into the mix. Alan Shearer, Dennis Bergkamp, Eric Cantona, Matthew Le Tissier, all Premier League legends. And we discussed what we think world class is and why we think some of those players are and some of those players aren't. We're going to now move it forward to these current crop of players in this Premier League, because I want to ask the question, how many Premier League players?
Dan, can I add something? Can I add something? Right. There's another thing that I also believe. Players can have world-class attributes, but not necessarily as a whole be a world-class player. Like, for example, Juninho Pernambucano at Lyon was not a world-class player, but you show me one player, even to this day, that can score better free kicks than this guy.
Facts.
There was another one back in the day, this Mexican striker called Jared Borgetti. I don't know if you guys remember him.
He went to Bolton, didn't he?
Show me 3 or 4 strikers that were better aerially than this guy. But this is what I mean by in terms of you can have attributes about you that are world class, but in terms of the bigger picture, you might not be that.
And I think you're right in terms of technique, because there's players that I wouldn't put in the world class bracket. Maybe like Le Tissier is one. Berbatov is another one in terms of his technique. Unbelievable amount of technique, but I never put him in the world class bracket. There's lots of players like that, and I do believe that is a really good point in terms of what are you good at attributes. Who's the best free kick taker in the world? Probably Juninho is up there for me. Beckham has got to be up there as well. You can put some of those in the world-class conversation, but if you was to actually nail it down, you probably wouldn't put Juninho world-class. You probably wouldn't say Le Tissier was world-class. Do you know what I'm saying? So it is very, very... And I think what Dan said earlier, it's who you play for as well, because Le Tissier was loyal to Southampton. Shearer was loyal to Newcastle. They could have gone to Man United. They probably both would have got into the first team. But actually, they stayed there. So do they get marked down for that? This is why it's a good debate, man. And this is for me. Lourdes, what are you saying about world class, man? What's your definition of world class?
Yeah, I mean, I tuned in a little bit earlier as I was on my way back, and I see what Ghani was saying about the elite thing. And that was always my viewpoint, is there is that, like, you have to almost put the greats of the greats in their own little category, the Messis and Ronaldos, and to try and have them merged in a category with everyone else. I wouldn't do that. And I know, obviously, like you were saying, in the 90s, we didn't use the word elite. I don't know. I don't know if we can discount that because it wasn't around in the 90s. But yeah, to me, it's like if you can legitimately play for every team in the world, no matter who they are, you would not look out of place in that team. You are good enough to start. And it's not. I've had this debate before. We've talked about it and go, okay, well, what if Lewandowski's starting? Does this player get ahead of? No, it's like you could take someone like any player. I'm trying to think of a modern. Say Trent or something, right? Say Trent could start and be good enough to play for Real Madrid. He could be good enough to play for Bayern. And they would be like, he slots into that team. They're happy with him. They don't need an upgrade. He is on that level. He is like the level of any team because it's world. When we talk about world class, we class him as one of the best players in the world in that position. Yeah, that's what I look at it as. I think that simplifies
cool.
it.
So let's go with that then. Let's go with any of the players that we mentioned. They walk into any team in the world's first 11 and make them better. If that's what we're saying, right? Let's go with some of the names of players that we think currently Premier League has. That's world class. I'll open the floor to anyone who wants to start. Dan United, let's go to you actually, because
Kevin
De Bruyne. Yeah, you go. Okay.
De Bruyne. It's the guys. We talk about Haaland being a cheat code. That guy could just serves anything on a plate. I think everything he does, the way he plays, I hate City, but I absolutely love watching that man play football. And I just think the last sort of 6 years, he's just gone from level to level to level to level. I think the only thing against him is his injury record. I think that's hampered him the last few years. But I just think that guy is he's just so good, just too good in that midfield. And you think he had to change his game a little bit to sort of work out how to play with Haaland. I think at the start of last season, they struggled to be on the same wavelength, but towards the end of last season, before he got injured in Champions League, I thought he was unreal. He's just incredible. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, man. Listen, you're not going to have anything against that player. For me, he's absolutely outstanding. It's like if world class was the definition of that, then of course it's Kevin De Bruyne. But I'll go one further. I reckon there's in the Premier League, I reckon there's only 8 players I can think of that are like, wow, world class walking into anyone's team to get it better. I don't think there's many more than that, but I might be wrong. I might have forgotten some. In my head, I'm counting it up on the spot. I think there's 8 players, and I think I'm going to name them. I'm going to name them and see if Lawless and Goonie agrees. Alisson.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah,
Ruben Diaz.
No, not for me.
No, I don't.
Okay. Trent and Robertson.
Not for me.
Rodri.
Rodri. It showed with City when Rodri was missing, didn't it? It showed how important and how integral that guy is.
Yeah. He's on. If he's not world class, he's definitely on the cusp of it, and
And then the other 3 are Salah, KDB, and Haaland.
Haaland, you see, with Haaland again, it goes back to that longevity argument. Is it too soon to give him that? Because what if over the next 3 seasons he scores 11 goals, 12? I'm not saying that's going to happen. What if that does happen? Then are we going to have to revisit this conversation? You see, because I can agree with you on Salah, I can agree with you on Alisson. They've done it for years consistently. You know what I'm saying? So, is
that Premier League bias though? Are we discounting the Dortmund seasons though? With Haaland?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, with Haaland, okay.
True.
Yeah, with Haaland, because he's not just done it one season. Like if you count the Dortmund seasons, which got him the big move to Man City, and he becomes so sought after. He sort of continued that, and he's shown he can do it across multiple leagues and the Champions League, and being a big part of helping his team win the treble.
Fair enough.
Do you think that, like, because you see what I've done there, right? What was the similar thing? They all played for Liverpool or City. There's nobody outside of Liverpool or City, in my opinion, that's world class. And I'm an Arsenal fan, and Dan's United. We've got Gooney as Chelsea, and Lawless is West Ham. I don't think Rice, Saliba, or Saka are world class. I think they've got potential to be world class because I think they're unbelievable.
We're not putting Johnny Evans in this category.
Yeah,
just
I'll throw a name in. I'll throw a name in, although I feel like he's kind of tapered off a little bit. But Thiago Silva was one for me.
That's fair.
Yeah, but as of now, in terms of his standard now, like it's nothing against him. The man's gonna turn 40 this year. Do you know what I mean? But did he have a period of longevity where he was consistently world class? Absolutely. From AC Milan to PSG, and for the first couple seasons at Chelsea, he absolutely was. If you had asked anyone, they would have told you this is a world class centre back. But as of now, as we're speaking, if I personally think that he's kind of tapering off, and you can't cheat time at the end of the day. But for me, he's definitely had that span.
We're not. Is there not? I mean, is there not an argument for Big Virgil to be in there as well?
I think there is. It's just I do believe he's dropped off, and I don't know if you saw the group chat earlier. Errol was down at it saying that. So we had all of the best back four, and he picked the whole Liverpool back four as being the best in the Prem. So he thinks that Trent, Robertson, Kenyatte, and Van Dijk are the best back four in the Premier League. And I said, well, I'll be taking Saliba and Diaz over Van Dijk and Kenyatte right now. He disagrees.
Kenyatte's not in there.
I don't think so. I like him. I think he's a very good centre half, but I'm not having him ahead of Saliba. I'm sorry, I'm not having him ahead of Diaz. So that was my thing with him more. Van Dijk, I think 2-3 years ago, you're talking about the best centre back in the world by far. I thought he was.
How long did that last?
Exactly, that's my question mark, Cooney.
And when did this world class period start? What age?
Yeah, and actually, I agree.
Or whatever he was.
this is where my argument is with Trent. This is why I don't see Trent it is, because Trent has no doubt won a lot at such a young age. But how many people can sit there and pick so many errors with that lad's game? And how many times has he had? They're technically moving him a position now to try and combat him being caught out as much as he does. So for me, that's why I don't see Trent in there.
Footballer though, like that's why I put Trent in there, because I look at him and I think you are an unbelievable footballer. Like I believe you're generational. Like I don't particularly get the massive hype on some of the stuff. Like Liverpool fans are like bowing down to the kid. But for me, I think he's unreal. I know defensively people have given flaws, and he is a right back, so I get why. But as a footballer, I think he's sensational, man.
Does that not go back to the conversation that Gooney had there about world-class attributes? Yeah.
It's an interesting one, man. So let's start from where I started. Alisson, that's clear, right? Alisson's the best goalkeeper in the world for me. Like I don't think anyone can say it. Is there any other goalkeepers? Is Edison world-class goalkeeper?
Not for me.
No, I don't know. It's a tricky one. Like if he was in a lesser team, a team where maybe he's going to be under more pressure, facing more shots, like I think he might get exposed a little. Not to say he's a bad keeper, but there's just times he looks a little bit off to me.
Because I don't think anyone comes close to Alisson personally. I think
he's world class, and he's
and like we said earlier with Errol, like that's why you pick Liverpool's back four, because they've got a goalkeeper behind him who gives him a load of stats, keeps him in games, because he does. Like Alisson for me is outstanding, so that's fair.
You know where Edison falls, that what category he falls into for me. Think back to that Barcelona team. Who was in between the sticks? Victor Valdez.
Oh, Valdez, yeah.
Now Victor Valdez, people were deceived and said that this guy was world class, when in the matter of fact is that this Barcelona team used to keep possession of the ball 75-80% of the time, regardless of who their opposition was. That's going to make you look better as a goalkeeper because you're conceding less. You see what I'm saying? And I think that Edison kind of falls into that similar category. But Alisson, even the season that they won the league, remember, they took volumes of pressure as well. That defense, as good as Van Dijk was, teams were still getting opportunities, but Alisson was making ridiculous saves to keep him in the title charge. If he weren't in between the sticks, I honestly think City would have won it again.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And do you know Edison has been unbelievable for Manchester City, like in terms of how they play and their style. But I wouldn't put him ahead of Alisson. And I know that there was a time where he got ahead of Alisson in Brazil, and then obviously now Alisson's number one, and rightly so. I think Alisson's unbelievable, man. So I'm putting him in. Any defense that you think are as world class in the Premier League? Any defenders? Because I think Diaz is the best in the world, man. I look at him and I think you are the best centre half in the world. And if you're not, who is? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
It's a tough question, that is, Potts.
Because people will say, "Oh, he's not world class, Ruben Diaz." So what is there? Is there no centre halves that are world class currently? Then there must be some. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to think of names.
I mean, do you know something? I mean, oh, Christ. I mean, I think for his age and what he's doing still at this age, and still great stats against players on the wing. Kieran Walker does wonders on that right, keeping out players.
Oh yeah, Kyle Walker is class.
But I can't world class. I just can't. I don't see anyone in our division that is world class. I don't see it. I can't put him in there.
I think Robertson. Am I right in saying Robertson, apart from Alphonso Davies, is probably one of the best left backs still around?
Yeah, I mean, it's not wrong to say that, but then remember when we say, and also want the chat to understand, just because we say a player is not world class, it doesn't mean that they're not very good players.
Exactly,
players. Like there is this thing where this false equivalency where, you know, sometimes us as content creators will say that player is not world class, and other people will say, oh, what does that mean, that they're shit players now? No, that's not the case. But in terms of what, I don't know, for me, I look at defenders now, because remember, it's relative to who you speak to, right? Because I come from an era where I saw Nesta, Maldini, your John Terry's. I saw a whole bunch of just
Cannavaro,
ridiculous levels of defense. Do you know what I mean? Even when you look at some of the fullbacks that were playing, Ashley Cole for one at left back. Can you put this?
Carlos?
Right, these are world-class certified players. Can you put Robertson in these categories? I have to ask these questions. This is why I cannot put Diaz in that world-class category, because some of those defenders that I've mentioned, like for example, sorry, Dan, another Manchester United example. You see Jaap Stam, how brilliant that guy was, right? Yeah. It's for some, it's debatable if he's world-class or not. But the question is, would you put Diaz next to him in terms of conversation?
I think like it's hard when you compare errors. Like different players from different time periods. You know, when we talk about, because I know you're talking a bit about Shearer and like Ronaldo, for example. Ronaldo,
we couldn't get Dean Ashton in there, Lawless. We tried to get Dean Ashton in there, mate.
he just burnt out too soon.
The Canio would have come close. That'd have been it.
Canio, yeah, man, that's someone that you could definitely talk about. Turn down Sir Alex Ferguson, so yeah, he's definitely in the conversation. But yeah, it's hard to compare, like, you know, when people do the Van Dijk Rio comparisons and all of that stuff. I don't necessarily agree with that personally.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. It is hard. But yeah, Alisson Fair, I personally would say, if we're going on the definition that Lawless said, would this player make any team better? I think Andrew Robertson would. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold would. And I think Ruben Diaz would. That's why I've gone for those three. Because I don't know any other left back, right back, or centre backs off the top of my head that I'm going, nah, man, did you not think of boom, 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 and you keep going like this? No, not for me. I'm struggling. Apart from Alphonso Davies, I don't see many left backs out there that are as good as Robertson. And likewise with Trent, if Reece James actually stayed fit, I think he'd be one of the best in the world. Not even joking, but he can't. So I can't put him in that conversation. You can talk about Kyle Walker. That's a fair shout. And you can talk about Hakimi if you want. But I'm struggling after that in right backs. Centre backs, like I've said, Diaz, Van Dijk, Saliba, Militiao.
It's tough, isn't it? Because before he joined United, you put Varane there, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Before he joined Manchester United, Varane would be there would be without a doubt. But
John Stones is another one people are saying in the chat. Marquinhos, but I don't know. I'm not so sure that I would say. I think Ruben Diaz. That's why I've gone for him, because I don't know another centre half right now that I would go, yeah, like, sorry, man, Diaz, you're out. I've got these two. But come back at me if there is two.
Currently playing is hard to choose. It's hard to find somebody.
Yeah.
But this is why I know Lawless, you're not really with comparing the eras, but if we're having a conversation of world class, I have to, because if I can't look at a sample size of what's going on now, I've got to take some other samples from somewhere else, from the knowledge that I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
there is a talent drop in there, Goonie. There's definitely a talent drop for me. I've said this for a while.
Agreed.
We've been talking about old school. You've mentioned loads of old school players. I did at the start, and it's easy to think of that. Now, if you had to do that now, you'd be like, I don't know many in that bracket. I don't
Do you know what the difference is, Potts, right? Is what we're doing is we're looking back now reflectively at players who had a full career, and we're able to, with time, sit there and analyze their career and go, he was world class, he was world class. And that's different now. We're looking at players some who haven't hit their prime yet, some are in their prime, and we're trying to say now, are they world class? Like this player back then, we can look and say is world class, but it's this player. It's hard, really, until we sit back and analyze their career as a whole, like we're doing with the Yap Stams and people like that. That's what makes it difficult for me to compare and use that as a barometer.
You go back to Trent as well. Like, are you telling me Trent would go into other teams and absolutely change the way they defend, change what they do from their attacking? He'd be brilliant, but I can't see Trent going.
I think he would improve him though, Dan.
You look. I mean, they've only just changed it, Liverpool, now, where they're using that hybrid role. Before then, we were seeing teams like Bournemouth attack Trent, knowing they were going to get joy out of him. I think attacking-wise, the kid is so talented. Attacking-wise, and his dead ball, and he can put the ball on a sixpence, of course can. But for the job of what he does, I just don't think he's world class.
His primary job is to defend. Is he world class at defending?
No,
but he's being utilized. What about as a midfielder, though? What about as a midfielder, where he's been?
And again, that's probably the longevity thing. Time will tell. If in 2 or 3 years he's doing that consistently and absolutely dominates it, then he's in that conversation. But
I think he's an incredible talent. I think he gets very, very harshly treated, Trent. I think he's an unbelievable footballer, and I think he will we'll look back and go, yeah, he was disrespected. That kid is unreal what he's done at that age. I think he's only like 24, and you look at what he's won or how many games he's played and how vital he was and pivotal. And when you look at when they did get it right, Liverpool defensively, this kid was sick, mate. Absolutely ridiculous how good he was. So that's why I put him into that bracket. Let's move, man. Rodri. Is Rodri world class? I think he is, man.
Yeah, I think for the position he plays, I 100% do.
He's the closest we've seen to Busquets for me, and I know Busquets has a longer career and Rodri hasn't yet. But in terms of what I'm looking at with my eyes only, Busquets was unreal, right? And still would be if he was still playing now, I'm sure, like in a City side. But Rodri, for me, I'm looking at going, yeah, you are the one, you're the best in the world for me right now, Rodri, in terms of that position.
The argument you had about a player going into a team and making them better, Rodri goes into any team in Premier League, in Europe, and he improves them 100%. There's no argument there, is there?
I think that's an obvious one, Lawless. Do you, Rodri?
Yeah, I think so. Again, no, but this is now we're able to look at it now. He might go to shit for fucking 2 seasons to go off the ball, or go to another club and it not work out, and then in hindsight we go and say, oh, he wasn't world class because he had this many good seasons. But you could say for now you put him in that category. But again, we're looking at it now with a smaller sample size of a career.
Is Declan Rice world class, Lawless?
Not yet.
I knew it. I knew he was salivating for this one. This one's been going around the timeline quite a bit. But now, like, suddenly he's gone to Arsenal. He's world class. Like, now it's world class. Get out of here, you absolute clown. Like, if you weren't saying Declan Rice was world class last season, I'm not hearing from you. I'm not taking you seriously.
I agree with that, Lawless.
It doesn't mean shit to me. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah?
I agree. 100%.
I agree. I actually agree with you.
Can't believe I'm saying that. 100% agree with Lawless there. 100%.
The thing is, he's had 13 games at Arsenal, so in 13 games, all of a sudden he's world class. Like, I'm not having that. I think he's unbelievable. I really like him, and I think he will be a potential to be one that you could talk about as world class in a few years' time. He's 24 years old. I don't know many players in the world in his position that I'd look at. Rodri is obviously one of them, but I don't know many. I wouldn't say there's many more than a few. I wouldn't look at like 12 being ahead of him. 10 being ahead of him. I think in terms of his position, if you look at Rodri, if you want to put in Chouameni, if you want to put in Casemiro still, you can talk about having the debate, Thomas Partey's, those kind of people, right? Camavinga, yeah. You can talk about those names. But I think we're talking about those names with Rice being up with them, not Rice down here forgotten about. I think he's up there in the conversation with those names, right? But I don't think he's world class. I don't think he is. And I thought it was, I think it was James who said it on one of the AFTV things here. I'm going to say it now, Declan Rice is world class. And I thought like saying, look, James, I love you, but he wasn't class at West Ham. Sorry, it wasn't world class at West Ham, according to Arsenal fans. Because a lot of Arsenal fans wanted Caicedo. A lot of Arsenal fans would rather spend money elsewhere on priority signings. So I look at it and think, yeah, I can understand the Rice debate not being world class. I don't think there's any others in the Premier League other than Rodri that are world class. Casemiro, you could look at maybe a couple of years ago and say,
same as Varane.
Man United, I think it's kind of dented it a bit in the last season or so with Casemiro. But that's the only other one I would have looked at in terms of the world-class bracket because of what he's achieved in football longevity-wise. I think Rodri is the one that stands alone, along with Thomas Souček, obviously, Lawless. Who's been playing well for you? Oh, what's the update on this Soufal thing, by the way, quickly? He's been dumped out because he's going out partying or something.
Yeah, he had a night out or something, yeah, which is classic.
Before the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, got on the piss, and they've sent him home. So wow. Yeah, hopefully he recovers in time for his hangover and he's fresh for Burnley.
That's what you need, man. Right, let's move.
That's not even I'm surprised. That's not even the fucking word. We've got two of our main forwards come back injured. Like I don't mind him coming back.
Is it Kudus?
No, it's Antonio and Bowen.
Oh right,
Antonio's out for a while as well.
Yeah, that's the one.
Isn't that music to your ears, Lawless? That's music to your ears.
You're all right. You got Danny Ings, bro.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Who's the young lad? Will that young lad get a chance now? Then?
Oh, Mabama.
No, it'll be Ings. I bet it'll be Ings. But you know what makes me laugh is like people in the group chat, right? In our group chat, were like, "Oh look at West Ham, no injuries. Oh, we've all got injuries, and West Ham's not got injuries. And now look, you happy now? You're happy now? Yeah, we got injuries." Big injuries, yeah. We're joining the club, so no more whinging. And now, all the excuses. I've heard we got 15 players out. We need to sign more players. And Dan United, all you lot whining about your injuries. Now, you know what I mean. Now I can
Newcastle, man. Newcastle, to be fair to him,
Pete's like, listen, we can't beat flipping Burnley or whatever his excuses are. Because Bournemouth. We can't be expected to beat Bournemouth because of our injuries. So if we don't beat Burnley, just know, no one coming for me and clipping for me because we got injuries. Yeah, that's how it works. Our world-class players are missing. Our world-class Jared Bowen.
Luckily enough for you, mate, your world-class manager's still there, though, so you're all right.
Fair enough, yeah.
Let's go across the front three to close, man. I think everyone can say KDB and Haaland are world class. Like what I've seen from Haaland, I've not seen before, if I'm honest. So I can't sit there and say that isn't worthy of being world class. And to be fair, like Lawless said, done it at Dortmund. KDB is world class. I mean, he's the one in the Premier League I would say is clear as world class, and he probably would go into a Premier League all-time 11. Would we say KDB's in there?
It'd be fair to say that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair for me. The ones where I'm looking at, I don't think there's anybody other than Salah. Other than that, Saka, too young at the moment. He's played 4 Champions League games. He's 21 years old. I've no doubt he will be by the end of his career. I think we'll look back and say this kid is sick. Like I love him. And Martinelli likewise. I think Martinelli sometimes gets forgotten about, but I think he's doing unbelievable things as well. But those two is too early to say that they're world class. A little bit like Saliba. I think they're the 3, if I'm honest. Ødegaard, not so much. I think those other 3, though, I think for me, we'll be talking about them for a long time, in my opinion. Saliba, I've not seen anything like it, man. It's scary. And Saka likewise. But I don't know, man. Salah's the only one, Goonie, for me.
Right, yeah. I think you're right. With the Haaland thing, I'm still gonna give him a season or 2 before I definitively say, yeah, this guy is 1000% world class. But he's definitely performing to the standard, 100%. But for me, it's like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm more of a longevity kind of guy. And I know that runs an age bias because obviously young players can't do anything about their age and how long they've played football for, but I need a bit more longevity. Now, when you're talking your Salahs and all these guys, you've got seasons upon seasons upon seasons where they've just done it on a consistent basis. Do you know what I mean? Well, in the Premier League as well, which is what I feel as well. This is a personal opinion. I feel like the Premier League is the highest level of European football that there is in terms of league structure-wise. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's the Premier League for me. So if you can prove yourself season upon season upon season here, then no doubt for me. No doubt.
Yeah, man. Anyone else?
Salah, 100%. Again, hate saying it, but what the guy's achieved and what he's done, and I use the word consistently, season in, season out. When Liverpool have been going through the doldrums, he's still the guy that's banging in the goals. I think you have to. You have to.
Mm.
Yeah. Any team would want to have him. Yeah.
A lot of people saying Son. Lawless, world class, Son in the chat.
Nah, not for me. Not for me, Son. Like, yeah, he's bounced back this season. Last season, he was absolutely shocking. Anonymous. He won me £100 for how bad he was, right? That's, so I think he's a great player. Really, you look back on his career and say, well, he ain't won nothing, but damn, he scored some good goals, a good amount of goals. So, yeah.
Same bracket as Berbatov, isn't he? I think when you look at Berbatov, what Berbatov did in his career, you look at the same with what Son's done as well. I think, yeah.
But Kane is Kane world class.
100%.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
no doubt.
Definitely.
There is no doubt what that guy is just.
Look at what he's doing in the moment. It's actually quite scary, isn't it? Like, I think he's already broken records in like 13 games in the Bundesliga, and like, you got to remember, like Haaland was there as well. Like, this guy's actually scoring unbelievable amount of goals. It's just crazy. Like, think of what he could have done. He was so wasted at Tottenham, man. I always said this.
But have Bayern made him a better player? That's the question I want to know. He's gone on to a bigger team. Have they made him better, right? Because that's apparently how it works.
Maybe.
Tell me.
He's averaging a goal every 60 minutes in the Bundesliga.
You weren't doing that at Tottenham.
That's scary. Yeah, but Lawless, he did 30 last season in a Tottenham team.
When you look back at his career, though, and think, oh, what was I doing? I do think he will, man. Maybe it's because
I should have done this sooner. He's probably thinking that now. Why the fuck did I wait
regrets
so long?
about what I did at Tottenham, but I should have gone earlier. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I think he'll look at now.
Yeah,
because you must look at that
he
career
should have left after the Poch era, right?
Yeah.
That Poch era, because I'm part of something. We're going to build something, but he got dazzled by Mourinho. He's a winning manager. We might win now. We've got Mourinho, and we got Conte.
Do you think he'll come back and do it? Do you think he'll come back and break the record? Do you think he's still got enough years in him to do that?
No, I don't know. He's 30. Is he 30?
30 now, yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't. If I was him, I wouldn't even risk it. He spent most of his career not winning anything. I think really he should stay where he is and just milk what he can there, because he can also win a Champions League with Bayern.
If he won the Champions League, and he gone boom. Okay, I've got the Bundesliga. I've got a Champions League. There's an offer to go back to England. Why not just get this little record? I've got the trophies. I've got the record. Boom, I'm established.
Because his game's never been about pace or anything like that, has it? I mean, he's just that good. And I think if he keeps fit, like someone else has said in the chat, I could easily see him coming back 30, being 33 and getting
class,
and still doing it. He's one of them players, isn't he?
He probably won't be as prolific as he was, but say he gets like 15 goals a season for 3 seasons or whatever on average. Like, I can't remember how many goals he was away from the record.
Like 41 or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So
maybe he'll come back and want to retire at Arsenal because he started at Arsenal. Maybe he wants to retire there.
Do you know what? If he did that,
it'll be classic United signing. United will pay 100 million for him, chuck him 500 grand a week, and that's what we do.
We're looking at Cavani.
We're looking at Griezmann now. We're looking at Griezmann, 32, and we're offering to treble his wages.
That is
32.
a stupid signing, man. That is a stupid.
He might want to be part of Man City's promotion charge. You know what I mean? Get them back into the Premier League, take them back to greatness.
Yeah, but being relegated to the Conference South, mate, that's Conference North. That's going to take them 5 years minimum.
Would you know what? If they, yeah, good. You know what I mean? When he could be playing down there when he's 40 or something. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's not going to happen, but I would love it. I'd love to see it. Listen, to close off, we're saying then that there are, so when you are doing it by your definition, Lawless, I did say 8. Doing it by the definition I originally had, I had 5. And my 5 were Alisson, Rodri, Salah, KDB, and Haaland. And I think it's fair to say that they are unquestionable in terms of world class right now. You can debate the others, Trent, Robertson, Diaz, the other ones I said. But those 5, I think they are. I think those 5. I think we've got 5 in the Premier League that are 100% walking into a World 11. I think I would put them all into a World 11, I think. Alisson as the keeper, KDB, Haaland, Salah, and Rodri.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I just think like it comes down to language. Everything gets diluted, you know, like world class is diluted. Everyone's the GOAT now. Oh, he's the fucking GOAT. He's the GOAT. Like, even though it's supposed to mean the greatest of all time, there's like 20 greatest of all times. Like it makes no, but people just throw these words around like indisposably, you know. So yeah,
man.
You know.
Well, there you have it, people. Alisson as a goalkeeper, Rodri, Salah, KDB, Haaland. I think that's fair. To be fair, I think that
Johnny
is
Evans
fair. And Johnny Evans, of course. Let's not forget him. A few people in the chat: Bernardo Silva, Son was mentioned. Some people were talking about Kyle Walker earlier as well. I think rightly so. They're names that can be put forward. But if we're talking about the world-class bracket, again, in the definition of that, then I think those 5 just stand out for me. Big up everybody. Big up everybody in the chat. Let's go and enjoy Gareth Southgate's England now, shall we? The other night. I don't know if everyone did. Anyone have matchsticks in their eyes like this, trying to keep awake? It was unbelievable against Malta. I was so bored.
Just get him out, please.
I respect my time more than that. I respect my time. I will not be watching though.
I watched Big Brother. I watched the Big Brother final. I'm not even going to lie. I was like, look,
I'm a Celebrity's back. Maybe we'll watch that tonight.
Oh, Christ.
You know what? Stan United doesn't respect his time, and he still won't watch that. That tells you everything.
Honestly, I'd rather watch BBC Parliament than watch this Gareth Southgate guy. I swear down. He needs to get out. He needs to go. And I've been saying this I think ever since I started streaming, he needs to go. Yeah, because this crop of players that we have now, we should be winning something. And he's not the guy to take us to the promised land. He's not. He needs to go.
You know what we should all do? We should all get together. I was in Tottenham Court Road yesterday. We should all go and see that flipping Gareth Southgate, the musical or whatever it is, just for a laugh.
What? He has a musical?
Wait, you have not heard about this at the
I live in New York, bro. I don't know about
shit. No, they've got in the West End. They've done like a play, like a theatre, and it's about England and Gareth Southgate and him fighting all the critics and dealing with that and taking England to glory for a World Cup quarter final and a semi-final. And
what a joke!
You have to look up, what is it called? Like, if you look at the trailer for it, it is so embarrassing. It's one of those embarrassing.
Why did we do this, right? Because I tell you what, right? This is what's embarrassing. Just quickly before we close. So I'm a Gooner, and obviously I like England, right? We've got a play about Gareth Southgate in 1-0. Charles Watts has brought a book out about Arteta and his unbelievable reign of football when the guy's not won anything and he's 4 years into his first job ever. Why do we do this? Like, I can understand a book about Brian Clough or Sir Alex Ferguson, right? Or Jose Mourinho, either, or Carlo Ancelotti, either. Do you know what I'm saying? Why are we now doing Gareth Southgate's got a play and Arteta's got a book and they're like 5 years into their first job? What's going on?
Yeah, and they got knighted by the Queen, Southgate and Kane, for getting to a quarter final.
Yeah, that was embarrassing as well. That is crazy as well, isn't it?
It was a quarter final or semi final.
Isn't it OBE or MBE?
Yeah, one of them got knighted, one of them got an OBE, one of them got an MBE.
For getting to a quarter final.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Lawless, when's your stage show out, mate? Now that's one stage show I would go and see.
Yeah, listen,
Tribulations of Dan Lawless.
If Southgate can get one, I must be able to get one, surely.
Love it, man. Love it. Listen, we're gonna close it off there, man. Goonie, how can people follow you, bro?
Man Knows Football is the channel. Make sure you follow me there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm still disgusted about this Gareth Southgate news. I can't lie. This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace.
Make sure you go follow Man Knows Football. Dan, what's happening with you?
Hey, do you know what? Do you know what we should do? I got it wheeled up. I was gonna do this off screen. I don't know if we get copyrighted, but I was gonna like react to it, share the screen, and show everyone, and we react to it. But I don't know. I think trailers, you can react to trailers. I don't know. Or I was gonna do it off camera, but I don't know. Everyone might want to see the reaction.
Yeah, no, do it if you want. I don't care.
All right, let's.
You share it, and then I'll add it to
Ruin Goonies afternoon, mate. Ruin Goonies afternoon.
Ruin Goonies end of show.
It's called Dear England, right? So if you add it, I'll play it.
1 sec.
For those who haven't seen, right here it
This
is.
is real. This actually exists. I can't
Real.
believe what I'm seeing here.
Look, there's the waistcoat. Brace yourselves.
This waistcoat, waist man. What's going on?
Can't possibly hope.
Oh,
to
and they've
speak
got Harry
for an entire
Maguire.
country, but I would like to share a few things with you as we begin this
They've
journey.
got a guy with the nose. They've actually got a guy with the nose.
England needs a new
I'm not watching.
story.
I don't think the problem's out there on the pitch. I think it's here.
Pressure getting to you already, is it?
This is men dealing or not dealing with fear.
I don't need to invite you all into my head.
Thank you, Gareth.
This is a story, and you are the storytellers.
This feels like a different England. So fearless, having fun out there.
What is sort of the mental preparation? What is all this we're hearing on the top floor? Share your doubts, feelings. Come on, England! Come on!
I think I heard that stuff coming from the stands before.
Should we all of us collectively say something, maybe?
You think it's that easy?
You haven't walked away from that space.
No.
You're still there.
Goonie's done, man.
Down.
Your clock is still ticking. Beginning, middle,
End.
Dear England,
Oh,
Oh
Over here.
my god, man. Oh my god. Man.
mate. Do you know that is honestly the most cringe thing you'll ever see? It is. Oh my god, we got to watch this. We got to see.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Hey,
Oh man,
would
it's
you-
gonna come
Goonie, would
to.
you rather watch a game of
wait,
football
no.
England play, or would you rather watch that?
Bro,
it's gonna-
I can't say what I would want to do instead of both those things on YouTube. I can't. I can't.
That is a
Hey,
joke,
like-
man.
Isn't that
The boys.
Voldemort? Isn't that the bloke who played Voldemort's brother playing him? I'm pretty sure. Harry
the
Kane,
drama.
the boy who lived, come to score.
Harry Maguire is the first person you see. That's enough.
You haven't. You're still suffering, Gareth, from '96. the drama. Oh god.
Mate,
Brilliant.
that's a joke.
Yeah,
man.
like I said, I completely forgot about. I was walking down Tottenham Court Road and I see it up there. I was like, oh yeah, it's in like a much. You've got the big Harry Potter one, and it's just like some small building it's in because I don't know who the fuck has been paying to see
That
that.
is absolutely crazy, man.
There you
Anyway,
go.
right, let's wrap up. Let's get out of here. Goonie's got to go. We've all got to go. Make sure you go follow Man Knows Football. Make sure you go follow United First and Dan's content. Make sure you go follow at the Lawless at West Ham Fan TV, and make sure you smash a like and subscribe on this. People, come follow myself if you want to. Dan Arsenal 87 on Insta and Twitter, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy, people. Later.
Southgate out.
Dear England.